today's afternoon session, Pinterest, Instagram, and Tumblr, how to build, measure, and maintain your customer base. Just before I start, a few housekeeping rules. First of all, to help reduce distractions for you and your fellow attendees, please silence or turn off all of your mobile devices. This is being audio and video recorded, so we'll be able to hear any rings or conversations, so just keep that in mind. Also, please submit a session evaluation at the end of the presentation via the AdTech app, which you can download on your phone, on iTunes, Google Play, or the BlackBerry store. Finally, we are taping this again, so if you could hold your questions until the end, and if you do have questions, please go to the middle and use the handheld microphone. That would be great. Again, welcome to the session, Pinterest, Instagram, and Tumblr, how to build, measure, and maintain your customer base. We have a very talented panel today. I feel kind of overwhelmed by the amount of talent we have here. But again, I'm Allie Turner, social media specialist at Leapfrog Interactive, a digital marketing agency in Louisville, Kentucky. And before you ask, I am a Michigan fan, so I don't want to talk about last night's game. We also have Stephanie Howell from Z Gallery. She's also a social media specialist and oversees the programs there for the brand. We have Maury Postal, Associate Creative Director from Social at Ogilvy, and Sherrod Vermont, CEO and founder of Decora, which is formerly Influencer. So, very talented. If you'd like my presentation today, since it is about Instagram, as on my Instagram, so you can find it at MyMBASparkles. I'm also on Twitter at MyMBASparkles. I kind of own that name. Or you can follow Leapfrog Interactive, the company I work for, at LFI on Twitter. So first, I just wanted to take a look and set the landscape for what we're going to talk about today. I always think it's important to go back and look at where we started. It's hard to believe that it was just 9 years ago that Facebook was created, and social media has changed a lot since then. So let's take a look back, and you'll find a great picture of me up in the corner when I signed up for my first Facebook account. I got my .edu email address, and I'm so excited to join. And as you can see, the old Facebook, if you recall back before Timeline, which it seems like nothing existed before Timeline, Facebook was very text-heavy. It wasn't about a visual communication. It was very verbal. You would type something. You would also stock photos on Facebook, which everyone still does. Don't say you don't. But it definitely wasn't as visually influenced as it is today. And hopefully, when we talk about these channels, you'll see why Facebook has changed, and it'll loop back. So first, let's talk about Tumblr. Unfortunately, Derek Godfrey wasn't able to join us today from Tumblr, so I'm going to do my best to paint a picture of what Tumblr is and how you can use it, as well as the other panelists here. So let's talk about Tumblr. So why should brands be on Tumblr? Why should you be on Tumblr? Tumblr is not only one of the top 10 fastest growing websites on the internet, but it has about 90 million users, or about 10% of the Facebook population, or real Facebook profiles, I should say. Tumblr also is a very active space. Around 89 million posts per day are made on Tumblr, and a lot of those are by brands. So let's take a look at some more benefits of Tumblr, maybe not just numbers. I'm not a numbers person. First of all, it's not just GIFs, and Michaela is not impressed by that. But anyway, I know me personally, one way I use Tumblr is to look at, like cat streams or advertising lingo streams or something like that, and that's very entertaining. And while those GIFs are something that a lot of people have a guilty pleasure of looking at Tumblr, that's not just what it's for. Instead, Tumblr is kind of the perfect storm of a publishing platform meeting a social media network. And what I mean by that, Tumblr you can customize to your brand fully. You can also put it on your company's URL, so it's really like a blog platform where it is searchable by Google, it's site indexed, so it has all those great benefits. But you have to remember, even though it is that type of platform, it's still a social media network. So any of the best practices that you put toward a social media network need to apply to Tumblr too. So it needs to be about the relationships and about the communications and finding out what makes your audience tick and maximizing on that. Another great quality of Tumblr is that it's based on micro-communities. So on Facebook, if you want to follow a brand, you would go follow AutoZone, which is one of my clients, for example. On Tumblr, you could search for AutoZone, or you could search for car repair, or classic cars, or DIY oil changes. And on Tumblr, you search by those tags rather than by a brand. And so brands can get a whole new audience just by tagging things in a correct way. And we'll see one brand who does that very well, which is Coke. So micro-communities based on passions, not just siloed brands. The next is staying power. Tumblr posts have a tremendous amount of staying power. A Facebook post, if you think about the life of one, about 95% of all Facebook activity on a particular post is going to be within a couple of hours of that post. It dies out very quickly. Tumblr, that's not necessarily the case. These posts have a lot more longevity, so if you post something, because it is tag searched, it really lives a lot longer. It lives beyond, a couple of hours like a Facebook post or a few minutes like a Twitter post. So if you want something a little bit more long-standing, you could think about Tumblr. So let's look at some brands who do it well, shall we? You see Success Baby approves these two in the background. The first is Coca-Cola. I know everybody talks about Coca-Cola and how great they are, but that's because they are. So their Tumblr blog is entitled Happiness Is. Their theme is all about happiness. So happiness is contagious. Happiness is enjoying an ice cold beverage on a hot day. Happiness is spending time with your friends. And they take all of this subject matter about what happiness is, and they put it into their Tumblr stream in order to build a community around happiness and the happiness that Coke wants to market to its customers. If you look underneath that first picture of the neon sign, you'll also see that Coke has tagged this specific post as Coca-Cola, reblog, neon GIF, Coke GIF. So anyone who is searching those terms will find that post based on those search tags. So if you're searching for neon, that one could come up in your stream. If you're searching for GIF, that could come up in the stream. If you're searching for DIY, so you see how tags work there. Let's look at another brand. This is Whole Foods Tumblr online magazine, for lack of a better term. It's called Dark Rye. And this one, the content on the Dark Rye Tumblr stream is very great. If you like Whole Foods or you like the brand message there, I highly recommend you look at Dark Rye. But they've done a great job at identifying what their audience wants to see and using Tumblr as a very unique platform to communicate with them. So you can see, unlike a Facebook where you have a specific cover photo dimension, a profile photo, you have character limitations, Tumblr really doesn't have that. You can make it all your own. So that's one thing that makes Tumblr really, really great. So hopefully I've done Tumblr justice in those couple of minutes. If you have any more questions, hold them to the end and we can try to answer them. Let's move on to Instagram, my personal favorite. Follow me because I only have 45 followers and I want more. So why Instagram? Instagram's been around for a while, and I'm here to tell you it's not just about putting a filter on a picture, which some people think. But Instagram is one of the fastest growing channels, even though it's been around for a while. And currently there are around 100 million users, and each one of those users on average has uploaded 40 photos. So the users on Instagram are very active, 40 billion photos, you can't deny that activity. One great benefit of Instagram is that, like Twitter, you can search based on hashtags. So if you have an Instagram campaign, for example, Virgin Airlines created the hashtag MyVAExperience, which was probably a second iteration of the hashtag. No one got that joke, I'm sorry. Think about it, and then come back.
Yeah, I got it.
So this customer curated content, Virgin encouraged its users to take pictures on their Instagram of their experience flying in a Virgin airline plane or where the Virgin airline has taken them. And then they curated that content to use all across their social channels. It was a very brilliant campaign, and I recommend that's a really good one to look at if you're trying to find examples of customer curated content. Another great benefit of Instagram is it's mobile. Before November 2012, Instagram didn't even have online profiles for its users, so it was all on your cell phone. And like a social media platform like Twitter, this behaves in a similar way. I see something, I take a picture of it, I put a filter on it, and it's in that really quick moment that I've captured something. So it's mobile, and you can reach your customers in those moments of life where they may not be at their desktop, which is a great feature of Instagram. Now let's look at Pinterest. If Instagram isn't for putting filters on pictures, Pinterest is not just for planning your wedding. Even though most women my age would disagree. So why Pinterest? A lot of people think, it does have that misconception where it's a lot of women in the 18 to 34-year-old demographic, and it is. I'm not going to say it's not. But Pinterest is one of those where the playing field is being equalized. 16% of all US adults have a Twitter account. Well, now 15% of all of US adults have a Pinterest account. So it's catching up in size with the rest of the social media networks. And Stephanie and Sharad will really talk about Pinterest a lot more. One great advantage of Pinterest users and why your brand should be on Pinterest is time. If you look at how long people stay on social networks, on Pinterest, the average user will spend about an hour and a half sometimes on the site, compared to on Facebook, 18 minutes, or Twitter, 20 minutes a day. So they spend a lot more time. And while they're spending a lot more time, they're also spending a lot more money. A user who is referred to your online site through Pinterest, on average, will spend about 70% more than if they come through Facebook or Twitter. So they're spending more time with your brand, and they're spending more money on your brand. Both good things. So if you have a retail brand or something that's skewed kind of female, or even not, you should really think about getting an online Pinterest account for your brand to tap into that audience who's willing to spend time and money with your brand. So let's go back. There's me doing my little jig again. I am from the South. And the old Facebook, coupled with these new visual platforms like Pinterest and Tumblr and Instagram, really had an influence on even the social giant that was Facebook. And so now, when you look at Facebook, it looks a little more like this. I look a lot better in that profile picture. But the new Facebook, the cover photo, the timeline, and even the new newsfeed that was announced a few weeks ago, it's all about the visual now. So Facebook has adapted to this idea that we are visual beings and we need to be spoken to in a visual way, which is great. It's great for marketers and visual-oriented people like myself. So I'm going to do a few best practices before I turn the mic over. First, show, don't tell. I could tell you that Frappuccinos are good, and everybody knows they are. They are delicious. I want one right now. I could tell you that, and you could walk away with, hey, Allie thinks Frappuccinos are good. What's the big deal? Or I could show you that. And if I show you a Frappuccino and I don't tell you what to think, then each of you in the audience can paint your own experience with Starbucks Frappuccino. You could think, I remember that one time I was really tired after I stayed up and crammed all night with my best friends in college and we got Frappuccinos. Or you could think, I used to go with my mom every Sunday to get a Frappuccino. But you're painting your own experience, and I'm showing you something that will give you an emotional response. I'm not telling you, which is a great takeaway from this session. Next best practice is pick a theme, but just a note, obvious product placement is not a theme. Brands are very crafty at this though, and they can work their brand into everything, but it's not just Crystal Geyser water in every shot. That's not a theme. So let's take, for example, Starbucks. I think I was really tired when I was putting this together because it's all about coffee. But as you see in this picture, this is one from Starbucks Instagram. This is capturing a moment, you know, of some nostalgia. It's a letter to Santa, but if you see in the corner, there's a cup of coffee. So the Starbucks message and product is still in there, but it's not this focus, which your brand should be kind of off-center and give it a more relatable topic to everyone rather than your brand. The third one, think inside the frame but outside the box. All of these platforms that they're going to talk about today give you a frame to paint a picture in. You have certain dimensions on Instagram. They have to be squares. You have, to some degree, parameters on Pinterest with, you know, image sizes, or they look better in certain sizes, and they have character limits. But you have these parameters, but what you do in it is up to you. So at LFI, we like to think about things really out of the box. And for our client, Texas Roadhouse, which is one of the largest steakhouse chains in America, we thought outside the box for Pinterest a little bit, and we wanted to create a highly visual experience for users. So we took our Pinterest page and kind of revamped it a little bit. So instead of saying, okay, we have all these different boards and we're going to put random things in them, and the Pinterest board is going to show up however it naturally is going to be, we said, let's take the brand page for Texas Roadhouse and just make it really impactful. And this is all within the parameters of Pinterest, but it's a different brand experience than one has seen before, so that makes it stand out. Plus, that steak was pretty good. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to turn it over now to Stephanie from Z Gallery, and she's going to talk to you about what they do on their social channels.